Well, let me introduce with great pleasure our next presenter. I want to tell you about the Venerable Dr. Pannavati. Some of you may know her through Heartwood Refuge, which she co-founded and co-leads. And you may know some of these other things about her, but if you don't, I very much want you to hear them. She is the president of Treasure Human Life Foundation. Pannavati was ordained in the Theravada, Chan, and Mahayana traditions of Buddhism with some additional details that she may be able to share with you now if she chooses, or you could, I'm sure, engage her through Heartwood later if you would like to know more about that. I learned that we had something in common when I found out that Pannavati was a Christian pastor at one point in her life. And so I not only gained an acquaintance so deeply knowledgeable, so very wise about the beautiful Buddhist tradition, the traditions in which she was formed, but also so knowledgeable about my own religious and spiritual tradition. She was the co-founder and co-abbot of Embracing Simplicity Hermitage and Meditation Center, which are part of Heartwood. Pannavati is an international teacher who advocates on behalf of disempowered women and youth globally. She insists on equality and respect in Buddhist life for female monastics and laypersons in the Sangha. She is both contemplative and empowered for compassionate service. She was the 2008 recipient of the Outstanding Buddhist Women's Award, serves as vice president of the US chapter of the Global Buddhist Association. And although she does travel extensively, both here and elsewhere, she offers meditation, she leads meditation practice and offers beautiful Dharma talks, which I can say since I've sat at her feet to hear them regularly in Hendersonville at Heartwood Refuge. So you can find out more about Embracing Simplicity and Heartwood Refuge at heartwoodrefuge.org. And again, if you're able to make a donation to the center, a portion of that will be shared with Heartwood. I just want to end my introduction of Pannavati by saying that in my capacity as a teacher of world religions at Brevard College, I thought instead of me, formed in the Christian tradition, trying to explain to world religion students what Buddhism was about, wouldn't it be better to get a real live human being? And before I knew anything about Heartwood, I said to myself, gee, is there some place anywhere within driving distance of Brevard College where somebody could come and actually speak to the students in person? And so I was so delighted not only to find out about Heartwood, but when I contacted Heartwood Refuge and gave my appeal, I had no expectations. And sometimes the beauty of having no expectations is you get the riches and treasures beyond your imagining. And that's what I felt happened when Pannavati agreed to come. And so students in my world religions course were able to engage with her directly. And I said when she left, if I could have a little bit of what she's got rub off on me in my engagement with students, I know I'd be a more effective teacher. So Pannavati, please unmute yourself and share your wisdom with us.
Thank you. So I guess what that meant was he didn't know what to do with me. When I was looking at this topic and, thinking of the virus as our teacher and where I fit into that whole notion, I came up lacking. I said, well, I don't think it's our teacher, but it's certainly something that we can learn, as we go through this ordeal. And that's what I wanted to focus on. I think the first thing it does is it asks us to re-examine what makes a society, our society, truly great, and what are the values that we must promulgate and exemplify that create a sense of being on the right track, both in our spiritual direction and in our daily ordinary lives of working, having our loves, having our children, and all of that. And so I think that's where I'd like to start. There were many wonderful comments made that I had also noticed. So I've been kind of going through and scratching things off of my list. But I think I might share something that might not be shared in some other areas. The first thing I want to talk about is illness. And in the Buddhist tradition, we talk about 4 kinds of illness. I only want to talk about one today, though, and that is the illness that is, it's a karmic illness for which there is no medicine and there is no cure. And the reason why I would like to focus on that is because that's actually where we need to enter the dialogue so that we can go from fragility to maturity. What this particular condition has shown us is our inability and insufficiency to understand, to honor cause and conditionality. When this is, and when this isn't, that isn't. And when we can see conditions that arise in our life of having some precursor, something that produces that result, then we're in a better condition in the future by reflecting on the past and doing the right actions in the present moment that guide or change or set up the conditions for how the future is going to be. And so we are in a very pivotal time right now with the coronavirus to determine what is the level of this illness, to determine where we will go as a people and maybe even as a species, although it is truly present. It is not alone in its capacity, to affect us. What we do in the moment affects the future and how this is going to go for us. And so I was thinking about this being a time of it's a wake-up call for us. And if we could not be timid, if we could be courageous, we could step into the wake-up call, sit around the table like grown adults with maturity, and we can ride through this, and we'll come out the better for it. I read an article in the paper yesterday as I was doing a little research for this, and it was saying that the majority of the people are being kinder, they're being gentler, they're being, but I'm not so sure that's the truth. We seem to kind of patch up history so that we look like we're doing really good and we did really good in the past, and not coming to a willingness to look at where we need to improve, where we need to do better, where we need to challenge our views, where we need to shift our understanding, what allows us to step away from ourselves in a very extremely personal sense of what's good for me and mine, and consider what are the qualities of being, and I'm speaking to spiritual communities now, what are the qualities of being that make us that allow us to come up to the fullness of the measure of the stature of those that we believe have embraced the highest consciousness that is possible in our human body. And so when we're looking at it, we look at all the signs that we've been given in the past, and right now, right in this moment, we have to challenge those. The whole sense of individualism, rugged individualism, the things that we praise and consider what makes us great that actually killed 68 million people, or that left, or even shaking the foundation of our sense of what our American, at least, democracy is all about, when it was a whole segment of people that weren't included in that conversation. And so when we're talking about these structures in our world, starting within the West, there's a whole bunch of people that are not even included in that structure. So that's not going to be a structure that serves us going forward. We're going to have to make some changes and do something different with the container itself. And so that brings about a lot of fear whenever anything comes up that shakes the stability, the happiness of the privileged. We have to figure out how we have to fix it and who we can slough it off on so that we stay okay. And so a lot of that is the talk that has been put into us from these outside systems. And as we have taken on spirituality, coexisting with it, but not overcoming and challenging and changing our social construct. So I was thinking about things that we have to bring back into the conversation, things that we thought we outgrew in our modern ways of speaking and knowing and living and having our being, like humility and gratitude and sacrifice and compassion and generosity and honesty and straightforwardness, just ways of being with one another that show our highest qualities or the purpose of what gives quality to a precious human life. And so that has been subjugated to other things over the last few generations. And making money is more important. Having fame is more important. We come up with all of these things in interacting with the outer world that makes us win. But within our spiritual disciplines, the sages have told us what actually brings us to the height of our capacity as human beings. And this virus and this not social distancing, but when we're staying in place, sheltering in place, is giving those of us who call or consider ourselves spiritual an opportunity to really investigate where we are in our spiritual path, where we are in how we hold the world and how we hold one another. And I can tell you the truth that we're coming up fragile. We're coming up lacking. There's a scripture I love in the Bible says Jesus learned obedience by the things that he suffered. If you want to get stronger, you have to lift some weights. You can't just lift 2 pounds and think that you're equipped and you're ready. You have to go 2 pounds, then you go 5 pounds, then you go 10 pounds, then you go 50 pounds, and it's these things that we have to endure. If we're willing to patiently sit and look with them, will let us know not what their strengths are, but what our weaknesses are. And as we begin to sit with them and really find out who do others say I am versus who I know I am on the inside. And as we begin to look at that and see where we fall short and have a shift in our desire, in our heart, these things are not without power. They are powerful to the pulling down of strongholds in our life. And it allows us to go through things. It allows us to be in this moment. This moment for me is like every other moment. I understand the causes and conditions. I understand my habitual tendencies and compulsive behaviors. I understand that I'm upset or not happy because I can't go outside, but we can be happy or unhappy, but whatever the moment calls for, we have to be mature enough to be with that moment. That's how the next moment becomes better. It's not by us having a hissy fit, deciding I have my individual rights, I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do, but it's about growing up to the fullness of the measure of the stature of the sages that we have trusted and put our confidence. The thing is that when we don't do this, we find ourselves very confused because we say we believe and we embrace one thing, but we live and walk in a different way. And it brings up a great fear in us because we find that we're unstable in all of our ways. But when one's thoughts and speech and action can align, then we become stable even in the midst of a storm. And it's through us having our own stability that we can benefit the world. Some things are better caught than they are taught, you know. And so when we have a sense of place, a sense we clearly understand what is happening, what is required of us, and we can exercise the discipline to do it. That discipline being motivated by our sense of just our sense of accord, mutual accord, our sense of care, our sense of friendship, our sense of concern, our sense of civility, our sense of mutual respect for one another. When those become our guiding forces and guiding principles for our thought, speech, and action, then we can say that this was a time that gave us time to step back, to sit back, examine what manner of man am I, what manner of man am I, and how I contribute to the unfolding of the present moment. And so we can take it really personal, and in that way, we don't have it like it's something out there happening, but this is happening in my life. I'm here with it, mano a mano. I'm watching, and I'm looking for the right response for the sake of all living beings, not just myself.
So much food for thought, so much wisdom. Thank you. We have our first comment generated by your remarks, Pannavati. Thank you. I hope you'll be able to hang on so you can engage that, and hopefully other questions we'll receive.